Bull or bear? You haven't heard that noise in a while, have you? And she comes up a bull. I rolled a 1799 Spanish 8 real silver coin in BG condition for you coin nerds out there. And I haven't rolled my coins here in a little while. I figured to do that, get back to some things I did for about 700 videos. What's up, folks? This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. Got the live LBTS cam up here, and been stormy and kind of overcast most of the morning. 66 degrees, which is really warm for some of you folks, but for us here in South Florida, yeah, people, well, they're still wearing t-shirts. I think that's the tourists down there, but beautiful day still. Take a look at this. All right, well, let's talk about trendy things. Besides talking about the gold and silver prices we're going to get to right now, let's talk about what's trending out there, you know, as far as what kind of things are people talking about. And obviously, you all know that we're talking about Fort Knox. You know, that's the biggest thing on X right now. It's on the video, and we'll get to that in a moment. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the spot prices here. The closes on Friday: $29.35.99 on gold, silver $32.48, and platinum $974.20. And the reason I like this format right here, thanks to CCE, who offers these prices here. I think it's subscription only, but is I like their ranges. Oh, somebody's having a bad day here. Let that go by here. I'm in my professional studio, of course, but well, anyways, the high of 29.49.11. You know, so basically 29.50. We've been popping in that mark. I think we've seen some higher numbers like 29.60 or 29.70 even the last couple weeks. Gold continued to breaking all-time highs, at least intraday highs. 29.17 being the low, and again closing on Friday at 29.35. Silver, same thing, bopping in that 33 range. I think we've seen it, what, 33 and a quarter, maybe even higher in the last week or two. You know, again, I kind of pay attention to the closes, but we've seen a silver take off into that 33 territory quite a few times. But we're not quite there, folks. And 32.48 the low, and that's kind of where we're seeing right now. And as we know, you know, silver, you know, who and how silver operates. You know, we don't need to talk about that this video. Platinum, $974.20, sub $1,000. And palladium, $973.55. Wow, isn't it funny how they're kind of like parallel right next to each other? That's really odd. I mean, I remember a time when palladium was. Someone should take a look at multi-decade or you know, actually multi-year platinum to gold ratios, and palladium to gold ratios as well. Maybe palladium to platinum ratios. There's some interesting stuff for you if you take a look back. You know, we were looking at palladium, what, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 an ounce, not even a decade or maybe 6 years ago or something like that. I don't quite remember, but you can go back and look at the charts. And platinum, well, platinum's been unloved for quite a long time now. Palladium took the role, I think, as the for catalytic converters, but for some reason, just languishing. You know, this might be an indication of how bad car sales are, you know, especially after 2020. Okay, let's get into. We're not here to talk about card sales. Let's talk about the. Hey, let's talk something trendy here, folks. Fort Knox Gold Reserve. It's like I kind of hit up here. You see news here and did a search, and the Associated Press. They're not too loved by this current administration right now, I presume, but want to know about the Fort Knox. I mean, it's news, folks. I'm not going to go and click any of these links right here. MS. And here's all your mainstream corporate liars. Sorry, your mainstream corporate news organizations out here talking about Fort Knox. And of course, it's popular. Why? Because the president did say something about it. And so did Musk. Elon Musk said something about it, and then Rand Paul said something, of course. I think he's brought the topic up before, but his father really championed the cause for auditing Fort Knox. You know, Ron Paul, of course, you know who Ron Paul is. And Ron Paul, you know, man, despite his age, that dude is still smart as hell. If you've watched him, he's still doing videos out there, and he's sharp as a tack. I mean, he knows the subject. Ron Paul, of course, you know, he's always talked about auditing the Fed, but he's also many times said that, hey, you know, we need to go in and take a look at the gold in Fort Knox. and do an independent audit. Not just Fort Knox too. Remember, folks, we have U.S. Gold is also, it's in Fort Knox. It's in the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, I believe. U.S. Gold is also in probably the U.S. mints to some degree. U.S. taxpayer-owned gold. So there really needs to be an independent audit of this. And Ron Paul, now, no matter what happens, if there is an independent audit, and is the key question here, and again, that also brings up a lot of other problems that we have. And I'm going to kind of course, Rand Paul kind of put this out here. I think you need a local tour by a guy, a senator, to get into Fort Knox, as Elon Musk is talking about. We do need to audit the Fed. But you know what? A walkthrough by Rand Paul and a walkthrough by Elon Musk and a walkthrough by President Trump is nothing more than a photo op. It's just a photo op. If these guys were to walk through it or do a live stream cast through it, what really needs to be done at Fort Knox is a thorough independent audit to confirm what we have or what we don't have. Interestingly enough, I got a little, I've been playing around with the new Grok 3, and if you've heard about Grok 3, it's probably the smartest or the best AI out there, I guess you could say. But I'm going to go into some questions that I asked AI Grok 3, and I think you'll find it interesting. But as I put out here, gentlemen, nothing short of an independent audit is going to put this issue to rest. And will you be checking the other places as well? Because it's true, Mr. Rand Paul and Mr. Elon Musk and Mr. President. It's a walkthrough is going to be nothing more than viewed as a photo op by people that want to lay this issue to rest. Now, laying this issue to rest doesn't necessarily mean, and by the way, this is my X account. You can catch me out here on X. I've been writing some articles that I guess we could get into in a little bit, but the big one is, the big topic really is their gold in Fort Knox. Now, I'm not going to say there is or there isn't gold in Fort Knox. I don't know, but here's what bothers me the most is how hard is it to do an independent audit? How much could it cost to do an independent audit? Maybe even, you could hire a couple auditors, independent auditors, maybe a dozen of them, for the cost of what we've probably wasted in some stupid programs supplying democracy down in Zimbabwe or whatever the hell they were talking about last week. All right, maybe I'm going overboard a little bit with that, but the cost to audit the Fed, folks, or the cost to not Fed, the cost to audit Fort Knox would not be astronomically crazy high. In fact, I would probably say just the opposite. All right, the cost to go through it all, I mean, it's not going to be much, and it wouldn't take an enormous amount of time to do it, especially if it was done properly. An independent audit was done properly. And what would an independent audit do? Well, it would lay this issue to rest, and that's my biggest point here: laying this issue to rest. But yet, they refuse to do independent audits out there. And some of you may be already reading what I've got on the screen here. This is my question, by the way. Some of you got ahead of me, and you're watching my screen here. They've not done it. They've not done it, and it's such a. I'm not going to say it's a simple thing to do, but given the amount of money we spend in this government, especially for waste, fraud, and corruption, it is a fraction of 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 that cost to lay this issue to rest for good. All right, let me read up here what I asked Grok 3 beta, by the way. Like the new Grok 3, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Can even write code and programs and stuff. I mean, wow. We're definitely in a fast-changing world right now, folks, as far as information and data available at your hands, and someone to do it for you. All right, here I go. Is there a possibility that gold may be missing from Fort Knox? This is a long one, but you can do that with Grok, and it'll answer them all. It won't forget what you asked. If this possibility exists, what is the most likely explanation? Could there be a possibility some may suggest we have more? There are some folks out there that have suggested that we have more gold. The reason that the government doesn't want to do the audit is because we have more than we're supposed to. And that to do so would be risk some national security issue or something along those lines. I kind of think that's just bullshit. I can't subscribe to that theory there. Excuse me, I'll take a sip of coffee. You know, I think the risk of finding out there's too much gold and is far lesser than the risk of finding out there's not enough in there. All right, and finding out there's too much gold in there, I don't think that would bother most Americans. We'd be like, so you know, a lot of Americans would go, yeah, you go USA. You got more gold. Hey, we. But I don't believe that's the case. I think that's just a red herring. You know, I just think that's a, you know, smoke and mirrors. Anyone that's kind of bringing that up, that we may have more gold. I mean, it's possible. I mean, where did Libya's gold? Probably to the Bank of England. But where did or BIS or something? But where did the gold from Libya go? Where did the gold from Iraq go? Where did the gold from all these countries that we liberated? You know, liberated their oil, or try if they had oil. Where did all their gold go? I mean, I can even say Ukraine. Where is Ukraine's gold? I mean, it was flown out of the country. We know this for a fact. Where is Ukraine's gold? Is it sitting at BIS? Is it sitting in the London LBMA? Is it sitting in New York? I mean, we don't know that even, and it's like some. This stuff should not be. Again, I'm getting off track from Fort Knox, but you know, like where did that central bank go from these places? Try to find it, folks. Look for a trail. It's almost impossible. Look for Ukraine's gold, which is not in their country anymore. Look for where it is. You won't find it. These are really scary things, and again, especially when, you know, they say where there's smoke, there's fire, and I believe personally that there's smoke here. Now, could the smoke be caused by theft? Leasing out to companies, theft, and these are things that we're going to look at here. Or could it be just pure stupidity? All right. Well, AI here, Grok 3. We're going to get to key points. Oh, I'm sorry. If you didn't get a chance, I asked these other questions. You know, why have we not had an independent audit of gold in Fort Knox for decades? Where is the U.S. taxpayer gold besides Fort Knox, and will this be audited as well? And in the final assessment, what is the most likely scenario to be true? It's really not the final assessment, but for these questions it is. I asked about BIS in a later part here that if we got time we'll get to. And whenever you see me do that, you can see I'm looking at that button, make sure I'm recording, because I have done that before. There's a possibility gold may be missing from Fort Knox, but no concrete evidence supports this. Key points. The most likely explanation for missing gold, if any, is mismanagement, though speculative. Now that's kind of interesting, folks. And you know, sometimes the simplest answer is the right one, and I forget what all that is, but you know, it could be a likely explanation that mismanagement. I mean, that's very possible as well if there's any issues there. But you know, God, that's a hard one to swallow, given it's our gold. You know what I'm saying? You figure there'd be great management and great chain, you know, a chain of receivership and a chain of where it's going and who has it. All right. No credible evidence suggests that the U.S. has more gold than reported. Now, it's interesting that Grok said no credible evidence, because it has been suggested out there in the intraweb that there is possibility that the U.S. has more gold than reported. And again, that's possible, but I don't think if we do have, you know, Iraqi gold, or if we do have Ukrainian gold, I don't believe that it's going to be mixed in with Fort Knox, or it's going to be mixed in with the Fed in New York's U.S. gold stockpile, or at the U.S. Mint even. I believe it's probably in a different pile with a big IOU on it. We'll see. The last independent audit of the Fort Knox was 1974. Recent checks are internal. We know this to be true. And I guess in 74 it was confirmed. But remember, 74 was shortly after Nixon allowed U.S. citizens to own gold, shortly before leasing in gold came up, I'm sure, between the central bankers and such. But let me move along here. The last independent 74 checks are internal. The U.S. gold is stored at the Federal Reserve Bank, because that's the question I asked, of New York. Besides Fort Knox, there's gold at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, Philadelphia Mint, Denver Mint, and West Point Bullion Depository. Now, folks, all our gold is not just in one location in Fort Knox. The vast majority of it is supposed to be, but it is also spread out. It's unclear if other storage locations have recent independent audits as well. So, you know, I would think that the U.S. Mint would have independent audits, and so would the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. But, you know, when it comes to the Federal Reserve Bank, their role is to be you know, they hold it for us, supposedly. You know, why do they hold it? Well, in case we default on them, I guess they're going to keep it, but I don't know. Possibility of missing gold. Let's go into this. Again, this is Grok 3, folks. Remember, Grok is based on crowdsourced, I think that was what they call it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's based on the data that it goes out there and sees on Google. It uses all sources too, even Wikipedia, which is surprising to me because I think Elon Musk calls Wikipedia Dickopedia. He doesn't care for it, yet it's used very heavily. By the way, Elon Musk, Dickopedia is used very heavily in your AI programs here. So if you think it's got bad information, then your AI is just feeding that out there. We'll get to that another time. It's unclear if other storage locations have independent audits, so that's what we were talking about. The possibility of missing gold. Now, remember, this is crowdsourced, folks. So it's going to get its information from different places, and I am not uncertain that data that we're given or AI answers that we're given couldn't be manipulated as well with the right supercomputers and the right people operating them and the right people hacking into his system or doing whatever, all right? So, you know, take it for what it is, all right? Possibility of missing gold. There's a theoretical possibility that gold may be missing from Fort Knox due to lack of recent, thorough, independent audits in '74. However, official reports from U.S. Mint indicate that Fort Knox holds. That's interesting. Official reports from the U.S. Mint indicates that the Fort Knox holds 147.3. Why would reports come from the U.S. Mint? Is it their job to do the audit at the, well, that might explain the whole problem. Is it their job to do the audit of Fort Knox? Interesting. And there's no concrete evidence of missing gold at Fort Knox. Conspiracy theories exist, but they lack substantiation. What that means, folks, is that conspiracy is not a bad word. I mean, we've been taught that it's a bad word. Conspiracy just means that, hey, unproven. These are theories out there that are unproven, and they may or may not be true. You know, but anyways, let's move along. And they're not been substantiated by who? Wikipedia and government. Sorry. Most likely explanation for missing gold. If gold were missing, I like this explanation though. The likely explanation would be mismanagement or poor record keeping. To some degree, depends on how much gold was missing, in my opinion. Given the long gap since the last independent audit, however, this is speculative and no supports for such claims as well. Possibility of having more gold. Interestingly enough, like I said, I think there's a couple people out there that's made the suggestion. There's a guy, Santiago's, real nice, nice guy, and involved in the gold and silver market. I think he had made mention to me that a comment about, what is it, Santiago something on X, I forget. But he had made a comment that he felt it's possible we had more gold in there, and that it was national, a national secret. We couldn't talk about it. Again, my feeling on that, highly unlikely. If they did have more gold, then it would be stored somewhere else in another pile, the secret pile. All right, let's move along. Most likely explanation for having more gold, given the lack of just having more gold, stems from misinterpretations or conspiratorial thinking rather than factual basis. But again, conspiratorial thinking works both ways. It also potentially could be true, okay? And there's no facts or no way to substantiate that as well through official sources who we get our data from as well. Remember, Grok does use official sources as well, and official sources say it don't happen, then Grok's going to put some weight behind that answer or reply. Lack of recent independent audits. The last significant independent audit at Fort Knox was '74 with occasional visits like 2017 by government officials, but these were not full audits, all right? These were just like internal checks, blah, blah, blah. Likely due to the competency controls and the logistic complexity of a thorough audit. Come on, I just don't believe that a thorough audit, again, that would lay this issue to complete rest one way or another, whether we have it or we don't, or we got maybe too much. No. Other storage locations and audits, here it tells us Federal Reserve, New York, blah, blah, blah. We were talking about that. Recent public interest, and again, we've already spoken about that. Rand Paul. I haven't read this thoroughly, folks, so there might be some things in here that surprise me too, so we'll see. All right, a sip of coffee there. Cheers to everyone. Comprehensive analysis. Okay, it's going to go into the analysis of what it thinks. It's renowned for storing a significant part of the national gold reserves. I should be out on my motorcycle now. It's nice out now. 147 million ounces constitutes about half of the treasury stored gold at U.S. Fort Knox. So there's a lot more gold out there besides Fort Knox. Oh, Harleys. All right. Now I got a sport bike. The U.S. gold reserves are critical for economic stability, historically backing the dollar. All right. So I mean, when we talk about if we don't have the gold, here's the issue right here. Uh, that is a national security problem. And if ultimately what we get is no audit, no independent audit, we get shuffled aside, and the independent audit gets shuffled aside, and again we get a lot of photo ops in the vaults with President himself, because he's likely to know the answer. I mean, if it's a national security issue and the president looks at it and goes, "Gosh, we cannot have the world knowing that we don't have our gold in these vaults," I don't think it's very likely that we don't. There may be some issues, but let me just say, if that's the case, there was no gold, or it was substantially less. All right, the president cannot come out again, national security reasons. And would you do it? Maybe, I don't know. Maybe in the era of transparency, we would do this. Now's a better time to be honest than any time. But it would be awful hard to admit that you're broke, especially think about Donald Trump. He views the dollar as the king dollar. It's he doesn't view gold as the king gold, as king money. He views the dollar as the king dollar. So he's not going to destroy the value of the dollar by letting the rest of the world knows two things: that we're inept or stupid or corrupt, and all our gold is gone. And on top, our backing of our, some of our money, if we reevaluate gold, which is a whole different topic. I'm not going there. Maybe next week. So I mean, it is a national security issue. It really is, if you think about it to some degree, because you'd have to admit that, hey, we're partly broke. We don't have any hard assets to cover this stuff. All right, let me move along here. Possibility of gold. Again, folks, this is kind of a lengthy explanation, and we've talked about this quite a bit, but there's some really cool stuff. If you want to just pause my video and read this real quick, I'll slowly kind of go down here, rather than reinventing the wheel and asking again yourself. Let's see, resolution cameras, 22. Yeah, the likelihood of it being stolen is very unlikely. And the likelihood that the gold is still in Fort Knox, this might be very well true. It might have never been moved, just it's sitting there. But again, what about the gold at the Federal Reserve? What about the gold at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York? What about the gold at the U.S. Mints? How well has this stuff been audited? The U.S. Mint probably better, but the Federal Reserve is what makes me nervous, because the Fed Reserve bankers, they are not answerable to anybody. This is a fact. If I went to a Fed and I said, listen, I need this information about what you did with gold, what you did with this and that, and say, for example, the Treasury Department years ago leased our gold out, which is a point that I brought up, but said, hey, listen, you can't talk about this, and told the Fed not to talk about it. Well, of course the Fed wouldn't say a word. And in fact, the Fed doesn't have to do anything because they don't work for the government per se. They're not answerable to anyone, including God himself, supposedly. They're a completely independent organization. So, I mean, what's to say that, they didn't lease our gold? They're sitting with our gold in their vaults. They're saying it's just sitting here. We're going to lease it out to these reliable banks. We're going to get money back on this, and nobody will be the wiser. What's saying they didn't do that? I mean, they don't have to tell us either. And anyone that trusts what the Fed says, and more importantly, what they don't say, is a fool. Same thing with government, I think. Most likely explanations for missing gold, such as rumors of just past vulnerabilities, U.S. gold reserves, having this again, going back to suggesting U.S. may have more gold than reported, lacks credible evidence, no such reports. And again, my opinion on us having more gold, and that's the reason they're not talking about it. They wouldn't. They put it in another pile somewhere, in another vault somewhere, or even in the Fed vault, just with the name secret pile on or something. They're not going to put it in with U.S. stuff for sure, especially given the fact that they know that they've been asked to audit stuff for the last 4 or 5 decades or more. The idea of having more gold likely arises from misinterpretations of conspiratorial thinking. But again, folks, I'm not going to hone in on the word conspiracy or conspiratorial thinking, because it's good to be conspiratorial to some degree. It's not good to take it to a level where you're using conspiratorial theories as fact. You can never do that. All right. But there's nothing wrong with conspiracies, because you're just questioning things, and when you have things to question, where there's smoke, there's fire. So why not? Lack of recent independent audits. It just talks here about no audits since 1974. I don't think there's anything here that, again, if you want to read this, I kind of highly suggest you do. It's really interesting. As I scroll down, just kind of stop and read this. But Beyond Fort Knox, U.S. gold stored at the Federal Reserve Bank. I asked this Philadelphia Mint, different mints, including the West Point Bullion Depository, folks. So, I mean, yeah, there needs to be audits. And they don't even talk that there's even audits at any of these. Look, specific details on audits at the Philadelphia and Denver mints are scarce. That's kind of interesting and scary as well. You would think that the U.S. mints would have detailed records of gold and silver coming in. If this is true, what they're saying, again, I'm reading some of this new myself, that's scary. Final assessment, most likely scenario. The most likely scenario, given crowd-based information, sourced information from Wikipedia and the U.S. government official spokespeople that never lie, and the Fed who never lies, Grok has made the assessment. Again, it may be true too, folks. I'm not saying that it's not true that we don't have the gold. The most likely scenario is that the gold at Fort Knox is still present as reported. Given official statements and the lack of evidence for missing gold, the absence of recent independent audits is likely due to bureaucratic confidence in internal controls. All right, Grok, I'm sorry, I just can't swallow that. The absence of recent independence is likely due to bureaucratic confidence in internal controls. All right, I'm going to move down here. You can read the rest of that. That was a hard one for me to swallow here. And again, I want to believe it's there. It very well could be there. But what about, again, the other places they're not talking about? The mints, the Federal Reserve Bank, the West Point Bullion Reserve. Where are the audits for those? Where is the gold, all right? What is so hard asking for an audit? Even if we had to spend $100 million, which is peanuts, that we spent, what did we spend, $25 million teaching some country in Africa how to use condoms or something like that? I mean, come on, man. I mean, so spend $100 million, 4 times the amount of the condom bill. It's frustrating. All right, let me move down here. Is it possible the Federal Reserve Bank leased or lent out United States gold? Now this gets into a little different rabbit hole that you guys may have heard about the year. I'm going to kind of go through this real quick, folks, because we can really jump down tons of rabbit holes here, and we will at some point, and you can do it on your own as well. The federal key point just says the Federal Reserve has not leased or lent out gold. It does not own gold and acts as a custodian for gold, which it keeps repeating, which is true. It does not own the gold. The Federal Reserve does not. It acts as a custodian. But what if the custodian asked the Fed to lease that gold out? Hey, we're fine with that. Go ahead and lease it out, make some money, whatever it is, for us or whomever made the money on it. Or what if the Fed just says, hey, listen, we got a big pool of gold here. We're going to get it back. Let's just on paper lease it out. Okay, you own, temporarily you owe United States gold, put an IOU on the gold pile, not even move it out of the vault and Fed. But what if there's all kinds of weird stuff going on like that? Possible? Conspiratorial? Yeah. No evidence from non-FRB sources. All right, direct answer is saying that we have never lent out gold. And again, you can go up here, and I'm not going to do it right now, but it kind of gives you all the information that where it looked, what it looked at different bills. Again, unfortunately, I just hate to see Wikipedia in there listed all the time on this. Comprehensive analysis of Federal Reserve involvement with gold leasing. Again, you can stop and read this. Gold, and this is the most. And why am I bringing up gold leasing and BIS and stuff? Well, because gold leasing and BIS is the most likely reason there may be discrepancies with our gold supply at again. I don't think Fort Knox. I really don't. I don't think there's been anything moved in and out of there. My biggest concern would be the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, in the mints, and maybe the West Point Bullion Depository. Where it's not in Fort Knox. Fort Knox could just be, it could be lead-sealed doors. It's never been opened since '74. I don't know, but there's other places our gold is, and not all our gold. Again, I think half or less than half is in Fort Knox, but. Yeah. All right. Again, I'm sidetracking myself here. The Reserve Act 34 vested gold ownership solely with the Treasury, issuing gold certificates to the Federal Reserve. Complicated but very interesting stuff when you start to think about the Federal Reserve and how these bankers took over our printing of money and our entire Treasury, what the Treasury was supposed to do in 1913. But again, another rabbit hole we could go down. This question I was asking up here, analysis of the Federal Reserve involvement with gold leasing, pretty much denies all of it. Again, I encourage you to stop and read this during my video. Just do a pause and read some of this. The conclusion, it's not possible for the Federal Reserve Bank to have leased or lent out. But again, it is possible if they were asked to do it in secrecy. It is possible if they are completely independent and they can just lie to us, which they can, all right? It's true, they can lie to us. They're not answerable to anyone, not Congress, not the president, not anyone. We know that about, people that are smart know that about that. All right, let me move down here a little bit. What was the final question that I asked? What role does BIZ play with United States gold? Now we're jumping down to some really deep and convoluted rabbit holes. BIZ does not directly manage or hold. First, you got to know who BIZ is. Bank of International Settlements. It's part of the, I don't even know what to say, the cabal of banking, international banking, and banking between central banks and banking between the commercial banks. And there is really, you want convoluted stuff that you can't see and can't look at and can't figure it out, well, that's the BIS pretty much. They do put out some data. BIZ focuses on being a forum. Well, here's interesting. Forum for central banks, not handling specific national gold. But what they do admit is that they have handled gold sales. BIS does acknowledge they've handled gold sales or gold leases for central banks. They just won't say who, kind of. You know what I mean? We do know it happened with UK, where the idiots sold all their gold way back in. Where is U.S. gold stored is Fort Knox, blah, 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 blah. All right, anyways. Here you go. Bank of International Settlements, Wikipedia. Again, note Elon Musk, if someone can send him a message. The Wikipedia that you hate so much is used so much in Grok's research. Maybe you should consider not putting so much weight on it. I don't know. I have a love and hate relationship with Wikipedia, mostly a dislike just because the way it's abused and has been abused. It started out as a great idea, but again, I digress. Direct role of BIZ with, again, stop and read this stuff, folks. It gets very convoluted, very complicated, and not opaque, or opaque, I should say, not transparent. Indirect influence and general role. It talks about BIZ's gold holdings from swaps. And there's a whole different rabbit hole again. Part of the banking activities for central banks, but these are not linked to the U.S. It's very careful to point that the swaps and the gold is not linked to the U.S. reserves. In fact, the lady doth protest too much, don't she? All right, conclusion, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Wikipedia's conclusion, more than likely. Man, I hate to, I'm not crapping on Grok 3 at all. I think it's great. I think it's great technology. Oh, these people just drive me nuts. Sorry about that, folks. Doing this in my store. But anyways, jerk. Folks, I love the Grok. I love the Grok. I love the way it operates. It is how to view Grok. Yes, it can give you bad information. It can get sources from, again, places I'm not too fond of, like Wikipedia, and it can get it wrong, and sometimes it does. In fact, I asked to do a bio on myself, and it got quite a few things wrong. So the nice thing about it is that I was able to kind of point it in direction to look at things. Now, whether that's stuck in its memory, I don't know. But take it for what it is. Grok 3 and this AI stuff is phenomenal. It's like having a search engine at your fingertips that'll pull up every bit of information that it can find out there. Hopefully we're not being, not shown certain stuff for reasons or whatever reasons it might be. But really cool stuff. I hope you enjoyed that, and I really encourage you guys to do that on your own. Last week's video, Silver Short is here now and getting arrested for melting U.S. coins. No, I didn't get arrested, but if you watch the video, we talked about the legality of it and the shady areas in it. By the way, here's my time to plug myself. If you're looking to buy any kind of rare coins, precious metals, gold, silver, and platinum, in any amounts from a couple dollars to millions of dollars, we are your people here in South Florida. We'll beat the locals. We'll beat the guys online, AppMax, SDJM. And besides that, we'll give you great service with a great smile, and we won't steer you in the wrong direction or put you in overpriced BS products like certified graded $20 gold pieces and 66 because they're rare or whatever. You know, if you're a gold buyer, we're going to keep you in gold products and silver products that are reasonably priced over the spot price. And again, we'll beat the biggies out there as well. We're brick and mortar. Remember that we don't do online sales. So if you go to our website, which you'll see right here, we don't have a site that you can click on stuff and buy stuff. We are primarily brick and mortar. But does that mean we don't ship stuff out? No, we do some pretty large deals with people outside our area that don't have a good local coin store, a good bullion store, and want a better price than they're going to get from APMEX, SD, and JM Bullion. So they call us too. All right. Well, anyways, let's me move into, and those are great companies. You know, I am proud that I can beat the good companies out there. That's what you want to do. If you want to be successful, you got to beat the good guys, even the 800-pound gorillas, and we do. All right, let me go. Sorry, there's my advertising for the day. Silver shortage here and now. Boy, the weather's getting a little nicer out. Here, take a look here. Let's see if I can show you. See how easy I get distracted? There you go. A little more sunshine. Where was I? Think for yourself. No. Silver shortage here and now, getting arrested for melting U.S. coins. I'm like a squirrel with my attention. And I'm going to read comments from that video. You know, I always like to read comments, and the comment section hasn't been too long in YouTube. Oddly enough, my view count for videos on X has been pretty phenomenal compared to YouTube, but I've always felt that, you know, they don't like me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just paranoid. Maybe it's a conspiracy. All right, let me go down to the bottom and start answering questions. Brian, would 65 to 1 be a good ratio to move silver to gold? You know, I am not a... I like stacking both metals. I'm not a ratio trader. And in fact, Silver Cobra, I think you are probably know more about ratio trading than I do. And I'm not exaggerating or trying to lower what I know, but I don't really follow ratio trading. I'm kind of a firm believer in owning both metals. And I'm more bullish all the time in silver, you know. Is that the right move? I don't know. It's just my opinion, the way I do it. Silver Cobra, always nice to hear from you. User, Russian, South African largest miners of platinum, palladium. Both are used industrial for diesel and ICE gasoline engines, emissions and mufflers, not like silver and gold. Gold is not used very much in modern industrial uses. Silver, quite a bit. But yeah, you're absolutely right there about palladium, platinum. I just don't know why they're so cheap. I'm sure if the small silver market is so manipulated and so wet down with, you know, soaked down with paper, smothered in paper, that the platinum and the palladium markets are probably even smaller and worse in that. You know, don't trust them, nor should you. That's just my opinion. Can I beat, I've heard Vermilion, that Vermilion guys, if I'm buying, oh man, I didn't respond to you, I'm sorry. Did I respond? Let's see here. No. Let me see. I don't know what he was doing at the time. I hate to really get into talking about other dealers' prices. You know, remember one thing about dealers' prices is that, you know, even ours, our premiums and our discounts on what we pay can change moment to moment during a day. And they don't often all the time. Recently they have been changing really fast up and down, but our bid and ask can change really dramatically day to day and sometimes intraday, depending on our needs, what we have in inventory, what customer orders we have. So it's really hard to say that, yeah, I can beat a guy like him. I think he's a small LCS up in the middle of Florida somewhere. A couple friends say they watch him and stuff, and he seems like a nice guy, but I can't say for sure. Well, actually, I can say for sure. If I want to, I can beat anybody's prices out there. I mean, you know, I could go to a price war with a lot of guys, and would I do it? No. At some point, I think if guys are willing to undercut themselves and work next to nothing, why stop your competition from doing that? So sometimes I will let guys just work for nothing. You know, that's because you're going to go backwards if you work for nothing. All right, anyways, don't want to talk about other dealers that I'm not familiar with. And I heard about him, heard he's a nice person, and that's about all I know. What about your bid on 1 ounce gold Krugerrands? Man, do I even have a spreadsheet around here? There's a spreadsheet. The bids suck on all products right now, folks. I think across the board, for example, wholesale. Let me just tell you what I'm getting wholesale for Krugerrands, which is dismal. I'm getting like less than melt. I'm getting like 99% of melt. I mean, mind you, the asks are a little bit higher on the wholesale end of it because they got to make money, but not by much, man. I mean, we're literally getting maybe a 99%, 99.5% wholesale when we go to sell Krugerrands, which is, it's melt. You can throw them in the 55-gallon drum and send them to metal ore at that level. You know what I mean? But we don't, and so far we're doing good with that stuff. But no better time if you were going to buy gold and silver to get this stuff on the cheap as far as the premium, not the price. All right, let me move along here. $50 bills worth less than 1% of them back in the day. The dollar lost more than value. Oh, thank you, gold and silver. I appreciate that. 2067 equals 2904. Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there doing the math and figuring out that if you had stuffed dollar bills under your mattress back in the 70s and stuffed a silver or gold coin under there, your dollar bill, your $50 bill, your $100 bill wouldn't have done too well. Buying power. I'm hearing that it takes weeks to get delivery. That's default. Oh, you're okay. We're talking about with the LBMA. Again, there's nothing transparent about the LBMA or even any of these entities. I mean, there's big stuff going on there as well. There's huge amounts of gold being shipped to the United States, and it has something to do with tariffs, according to some. Some people say it's the U.S. repatriating our gold, maybe from the leases, who knows? But I mean, there's all kinds of speculation. But, you know, my biggest contention is we shouldn't be speculating on any of this. This stuff should be completely transparent with our gold sales back and forth. Over-the-counter sales, as my friend Eric Young points out, over-the-counter sales is another way that these markets are kept non-transparent by running them through OTC. I mean, it's all kinds of crazy stuff out there, folks, and it shouldn't be like that, especially when it comes to our gold. We should know exactly what we got all the time, and it should be, you know, no question about it. And you want an audit? Sure, here you go. Stack while you can. Thank you, Russell. Appreciate that. Stack while you can. I agree. I think silver is where I'll be at these gold prices. Yes. Can you post your premiums on a daily basis? You know, I did that for a while, James. I forgot. I've done 800 and something videos on YouTube already, but I was doing that for a while. I just didn't feel like, you know, the problem is that premiums were maybe good for a day or a couple days, and they weren't good. My videos were weekly. And doing daily videos right now is just not an option for me. I'm just so busy. I'm running I'm running 3 businesses, and you know, family, and trying to live a life here. And I'm short employees, so you know, as you get older, you're supposed to work less, not more. But it doesn't seem to be working for me. Appreciate you asking, though. And you know what? All of you, feel free to call me at 954-493-8811 or 954-776-COIN. 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays. I'm not available most of the time. My staff will give you our bids and our asks. Profit's not a dirty word. We don't mind doing that. So feel free to call us anytime. Meager Millionaire says it's going to local shop, mostly gone, so I did my part to clean up the rest of it. Good for you, man. Keep stacking, my friend. Welco, cheers. Coffee cheers to you. Another sip here. Zane, I have been well. I got the influenza A for like a couple weeks, knocked me on my ass for a month, but after that, I'm like feeling great right now. I am so up at the moment and thankful for what I have and everything, as we all should be. Thanks, Zane. Appreciate it. Big J, same thing. I kind of just was out of it for a while. Just so busy, man, running all this stuff, businesses, and you know, yeah, I know I got a million excuses. Thanks for watching. Nickel story. When I was a kid in the 60s, I used to make my own lures, and a fisherman, to my own heart. Here, give you, there you go. It gets a little heart there, and a thumbs up. Not that all of you don't deserve thumbs up, but you know, I gotta keep my thumbs up to a minimal fishing. Drilled 2 holes, made a treble hook, and caught a black bass all day long with a buffalo nickel. Yeah, there you go, my friend. And you still got it, never melted. Good for you. Pass it on to somebody that fishes. Thank you. I'm glad I'm back too, kinda. Not glad I'm back, but I'd like to be backer even more. Thanks. Makes no sense if you say $50 percentage, you couldn't buy at least 1.5 ounces of silver. Kind of odd how silver doesn't seem affected by inflation. You know, but that's if you're saying $50 in 1980 at the $50 high. You know, you could have bought silver a couple of years earlier for $2.50, or not too long after that for you know, $7 and $10. So, you know, 1980 silver market was an anomaly. It was a short squeeze in the truest terms of the word by the Hunt brothers, who made a earnest attempt to do it legally, and they did do it legally, but they got shut out by the crooked bullion banks and the crooked COMEX. Make a long story short. So not a good assumption right there. If you did in 1980 at the height, yeah, you kind of got screwed, but no doubt about it. $50 then and a dollar bill. Well, you got screwed with the $50 bill too, but you wouldn't have done that great with your silver as well. At least you still have it. But $50 silver then was an anomaly. It would be equivalent to $500 better silver now. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Aluminum. Hey, listen, I think commodities across the board are going to do well, but the problem with commodities is, I'm sure it's not just the silver market. It's the COMEX to me is a crooked casino, in my opinion. All right, and there's a bunch of crooked players that the casino caters to, which are the bullion banks and the banks that are probably dealing in commodities. All right, besides bullion. And COMEX makes a lot of money on their trades, whether they're crooked or not. So they don't say anything. The CFTC, the governing agency, is worthless as tits on a log. They don't say anything. So that's the problem I see with commodities across the board, is they're just so diluted with paper, you know. And the paper tail wags the physical dog. But not so much in silver. That's going to come to an end. I just feel it, man. I know it. I know they're screwed. And my New Year's is to be at 105 ounces. Good job, F37 metal. Cool for you. And if we can help you with that, I'm glad we are. Silver and gold, run, baby, run. Yes, sir, Silver Cobra. Okeechobee Keith, what's up? If silver hits $2,000 per ounce, how would a stackers cash in? I don't think the average coin and bullion. Yeah, they will. I mean, I don't know if every one of them will, but most of the small coin shops are going to be using OPMs, which means that they're going to be selling to a larger seller, getting wires for that. I mean, trust me, I've done it too, man. There's some huge deals we do here. Remember where I live? I live in, man, we got yachts all around here, and I see 100 Ferraris a day. I mean, that might not be exaggerating, but we live in a super rich area. So, I mean, there's some huge deals that we basically are kind of OPMing it. Not OPMing it, but we're kind of just brokering these large, super large deals, all right? And that's the way it'll work. You know, guys that don't do that are going to have a more difficult time, but those are going to be your more inexperienced dealers that are not able to make those connections and do those kind of things. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking with it. I also recommend, too, selling in larger or smaller quantities as well. If you feel that's an issue or you have a smaller shop, just sell smaller quantities. One of the reasons I always like to have smaller quantities on hand, so you can do stuff like that. Thanks, Okeechobee Keith. Nice to hear from you. I looked into legality of metal coins. There's no laws against 2007, the penny and nickel. Yeah, that's kind of what I covered in the video. It says it only covers nickels and pennies, but it also infers that it's possible that you could get a lot of scrutiny and attention, because the big thing they talk about is they don't want you destroying coins for profit. And they put that for profit in there very specifically. So if you watch my videos, you'll see, yeah, that's absolutely true. Silverliner, glad to hear from you. You're old timer, listener, or viewer, I guess. I don't know if you call this as viewing right here, but listener. I hope all is well with you as well, my friend. And Mark Hall, nice to see you on X, Facebook, putting some great posts up there. Of course, you guys, you know, if you hit me on X, I'll try to follow you if I can, if you hit me up there. Based on my 1980 inflated home price, silver by comparison would be 300. Yeah, probably even higher. All right, folks, that's my comment section. Hope you got a chance to watch last week's video. And, you know, as I always say, think for yourself, question authority, because you know what? We've been lied to since birth. Good lies, bad lies, white lies, black lies, you name them. And, you know, go back and question yourself first. What you know to be the truth may not be the truth. And you may have an epiphany. And when that happens, life opens up to you in such a better way. You know, of course the game is rigged, but if you don't play, you can't win. And when you know the game is rigged, you also know who the players are, and it makes you a much better player. Of course, I'm mixing two of my favorite quotes here. Hey, thanks for watching. This is Brian Kuzmar with Commercial Rare Coins and Precious Metals in beautiful Lauderdale by the Sea. If you're looking to buy any types of gold, silver, and platinum, coins or bars, even rare coins, check with us. We're open 10 to 4 Mondays through Fridays. We are a brick and mortar. We'll beat the local guys down here, and they're all good guys, most of them. Then we'll beat the guys online, the big 800-pound gorillas, the good guys like APMEX, SD, and JM. We'll beat their prices too. No need to go any further than if you can drive to us. The beauty of that too is we're going to give you advice and suggestions and give you better suggestions than you're going to get from those guys, just because they're not capable of that kind of customer service. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, folks. You all have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.